The smile that shattered you, you say yes with your mouth while your soul screams no. Every nod, every smile, every soft of course, is a slow betrayal written in invisible ink. You've convinced yourself it's kindness. That to be liked is to be safe. That to be silent is to be strong. That to disappear for others is some form of nobility. But I know what it really is. It's a war. A silent war waged in every conversation, every compromise, every moment you stand at the altar of their comfort and sacrifice your truth. You call it being polite. I call it bleeding without leaving a trace, and it begins so subtly. The first time you swallow your anger because you don't want to seem dramatic. The first time you agree when you wanted to scream. The first time you make yourself small because you fear they'll walk away if you take up too much space. One moment becomes a habit becomes a role, and the role becomes your cage. They smile, you smile back, but inside, something fractures. Something fades, piece by piece. The real you is buried beneath layers of compliance, not peace, not harmony. Silence. You are not calm, you are imprisoned. This isn't compassion. It's a quiet execution. And you have become the executioner. You who once had a voice sharp as a blade, now dulled. You who once burned with clarity, now cold. You who once said what you meant, now speak in scripts written by everyone else. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask you put on to survive. In the world. It smiles when you're crumbling. It nods when you're screaming. It shakes hands with people who poison your spirit. You think you wear it, but it wears you. You no longer know where the mask ends and you begin. This is not altruism. This is not maturity. This is not grace. This is surrender. You abandon your needs to be liked. You silence your boundaries to be accepted. You betray your instincts to keep peace that isn't even real. They say you're good, that you're dependable, that they can always count on you. But the truth is, they count on you to abandon yourself. They celebrate your exhaustion. They praise your broken back, mistaking it for strength. Because the more you bleed for them, the more they benefit. You are not generous. You are enslaved. Not by them. By your fear. Fear of not being loved. Fear of being alone. Fear of what happens when you finally say no. And so you remain silent. You remain obedient. You call it love, but I call it self-erasure. You are disappearing. Every yes that is a lie chips away at who you are. Every moment of forced peace is another nail in your coffin. You think you're doing the right thing, but kindness without truth is cowardice. Compassion without boundaries is self-destruction. Love without authenticity is just performance. You are not here to be everyone's mirror. You are not here to make them comfortable. You are not here to keep the world from falling apart at the cost of your soul. You are here to live. To feel. To rage when it's righteous. To set fire to the lies they handed you as virtues. To stop being polite when your silence is killing you. To rip the mask off. To let the real face beneath it breathe for the first time. This game you've been playing, it doesn't end in applause. It ends in bitterness, in emptiness, in regret. You will look back at your life and realize you were never really in it. You were just performing for a crowd that never even clapped. Enough. Say it. Enough. No more smiling through the pain. No more offering yourself as the sacrifice. No more pretending this is love when it's only submission. You are not a servant of their comfort. You are not a vessel for their ease. You are a force. And if your truth burns bridges, let it. Let them watch you walk through fire and not flinch. Because from this moment forward, you no longer owe them your silence. You no longer owe them your disguise. You owe yourself one thing, your freedom. So take it. This is not kindness. This is surrender. And you were born for more than this. Childhood, the first sacrifice they trained you without training you, not with force, not with threat, but with a look, A silence. A sigh that carved shame deep into your gut. You were never told the rules, but you learned them anyway. Fast. Be agreeable. Be pleasing. Be soft. Be quiet. Don't ruffle the air. Don't let them down. Don't make them uncomfortable. That was the unspoken pact. A silent signature burned into your identity. You thought that being loved meant being easy to love. You thought that being accepted meant never rocking the boat. So you nodded when you should have walked away. Laughed when you wanted to scream. Held everyone's weight while your spine cracked beneath the pressure, and they applauded you for it. Called you noble. Called you reliable. Called you good. But no one asked what it cost. Let me tell you that it cost your fire. It cost your no. It cost the part of you that knew how to fight for itself. You've been bleeding in plain sight, and they call it grace, because they never saw the bruises silence leaves, the lacerations from forced smiles, the emotional depth from constantly making others comfortable. This is not harmony. This is hostage-taking masked as belonging. Every time you agree just to avoid rejection, you are not connecting. You are bargaining with your own soul. Do you hear me? That approval you're chasing is counterfeit. It's a currency minted by fear. You wear your persona like a uniform. But it doesn't protect you. It cages you. Carl Jung called it the mask for society. But you've worn it for so long, you've forgotten what your real face looks like. You've become so fluent in pleasing that authenticity feels foreign. You speak in apologies, in soft deflections, in carefully wrapped sentences, sterilized of truth, and yet you wonder why you feel so invisible. You wonder why you lie awake at night, feeling empty after a day full of being there, for everyone else. It's because your soul is starving for honesty, starving for alignment, starving for the rebellion of saying no. But here's the twist. The pact was never real. You were never truly required to betray yourself. You were conditioned to believe you had to, and that conditioning lives in your bones. It speaks louder than your logic. It overrides your needs, but the moment you see it, truly see it, the spell cracks. You realize that pleasing others was never safety. It was submission. You thought you were buying love, but you were selling freedom. And now you stand at the edge. You can keep signing this invisible contract, or you can burn it. Not with rage, but with truth, because here is the truth. You never needed their permission to exist. You never needed to be soft to be loved. You never needed to shrink to be seen. And every time you said yes when your soul said no, you weren't being kind. You were being conquered. So now, what do you choose? Because this is the moment where the pact dissolves and the war begins. The war for your authenticity. The war for your voice. The war for the parts of you that were silenced before they even had the chance to speak. This is not about becoming selfish. It's about becoming sovereign. Let them call it defiance. Let them call it rude. Let them say you've changed, because you have. And if your truth makes them uncomfortable, good. That means it's finally loud enough to be heard. This is where the pleasing ends. And the power begins. The invisible pact you never signed. You never agreed to this. Not openly, not consciously, but somehow somewhere you were enlisted into a contract of quiet compliance. An unspoken pact. Smile, nurture, soften, stay small, be agreeable, never shake the table. And in return, they might like you. They might accept you. They might approve. But that might has become your leash. You hold yourself hostage for the possibility of being tolerated. Do you hear how tragic that sounds? You've made yourself digestible, palatable, safe. And now, you've become forgettable. Because the world doesn't respect shadows. It only respects what dares to stand in the light. And you dimmed yourself. Out of habit, out of fear, out of some ancient story that said, you are too much unless you're needed. So you became useful, quiet, convenient, they don't see it. But you do. The quiet betrayal. Every time you nod while your heart cracks. Every time you answer the call, when your soul begs for silence. You are breaking the most sacred vow, the one to yourself. And still, you whisper, it's fine. But it's not. You are exhausted because you've become a service, a resource, a function. Not a person. And here's the twist. They didn't force this role onto you. You accepted it. Because somewhere you thought earning love meant earning your right to exist. But now you know better. You never signed that pact. It was forged in fear, conditioned in you. And the moment you decide to break it, the world will tremble. Not because you became someone new, but because you finally remembered who you were before you became useful. And that memory, that return, that rage, it will burn every false agreement to the ground. No more silent contracts. No more quiet suffering. The mask is slipping. Let it fall. They never asked you out loud, but you answered anyway. You answered with your silence, your obedience, your sacrifices. No contract was written. No blood was drawn. But every time you gave in, when your soul wanted to scream and you swallowed it, you signed a page in a pact that told the world, take me, use me, I will not fight. You thought this was goodness. You thought this was what love looked like. But at WSN single quotes D. It was quiet desperation. Wearing the mask of nobility. You were taught that love meant self-abandonment. That kindness was measured by how much of yourself you were willing to erase. And the world, the world was eager to believe you. They called you strong. They called you dependable. They called you selfless. They praised the shackles they helped you forge. But they never noticed the shaking hands behind your smiles. The nights you couldn't sleep because you said yes again. The silent rage boiling in the gut of your obedience. They saw your smile and mistook it for peace. But peace built on suppression is a ticking bomb. And you were always seconds from detonation. This is the lie you were fed. That you had to earn love. That you had to prove your worth by carrying others. That your value came from how much pain you could endure without complaint. But tell me, who taught you that you had to bleed to be seen? Who told you that your no was dangerous? Was it a parent? A teacher? A friend who only smiled when you agreed? Or was it this world dripping in the sickness of conditional affection that applauded your disappearing act every time you made someone else feel whole? You didn't sign up for this. You were coerced into it. Slowly, subtly. 1,000 moments where your truth was punished. 1,000 silences that felt safer than speaking. And so you adapted, became a mirror, a chameleon, a shapeshifter in your own skin. You forgot the sound of your own voice. You forgot what it meant to want without guilt. You became agreeable, nice, useful, but you never truly felt alive. Carl Jung said it clearly. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But there's no privilege in a performance. No freedom in a facade. You must understand this. There's a cost to not living as yourself, and you've been paying it. With your soul. You're not just tired. You are depleted. Your exhaustion is not from doing too much. It's from doing too little of what actually feeds you. That smile they love. It's killing you. That calm presence they expect. It's your inner war in disguise. The world wants you tame, but beneath your compliance, there's a storm rising. And today, you revoke the pact. You break the deal you never truly agreed to. You unsign the contract with your refusal. No more yes when your truth is no. No more being everything to everyone while being nothing to yourself. You were not born to serve illusions. You were born to become. To rise. To burn. And this moment right here is your ignition. The hunger that devours you. You think you want to be liked. But that's a lie. You don't want it. You need it. The way a drowning man needs air. The way a starving child needs crumbs. And that's the sickness no one talks about. This isn't about kindness. It's not about generosity. It's about survival twisted, contorted, and poisoned by a hunger that was never yours to begin with. They told you approval was the goal. They trained you to smile, nod, obey. They made you believe that being accepted meant being good. So you chased it. Endlessly. You made yourself available. You let their moods dictate your emotions. You became a mirror for their needs, their insecurities, their drama. Every time you said yes when you meant no, you weren't being nice. You were feeding the addiction. External validation became your drug. And like any addiction, it never satisfies. It only empties, Adler warned us. Kishimi revealed it. You've spent your life living the tasks of others, solving their discomfort, carrying their burdens, silencing your truth to make their egos comfortable. You didn't know it then. But every favor was a leash. Every smile was a chain. You've become an expert at self-erasure. You vanish so others can shine. You dim your fire to make sure no one feels burned. And in return, what do you get? A momentary nod. A thank you wrapped in expectation. Maybe even a compliment until the next time they need something. This isn't loyalty. This isn't family. This isn't love. It's dependency. You've taught yourself to equate rejection with death. You panic when someone's disappointed in you. You crumble at the idea of being misunderstood, because deep down, you don't believe you have the right to exist unless someone approves. You've made yourself a servant to perceptions, a prisoner of praise. You live for their smile, but die from their silence. And the cruelest irony? You're bleeding out for people who wouldn't even notice your funeral. You've given them your time, your energy, your soul, and they take. Always take, because why wouldn't they? You taught them that your boundaries are suggestions, that your silence is permission, that your exhaustion is invisible. You wear yourself out hoping one day someone will say, I see you, I value you, I choose you. But they won't, because the world doesn't reward self-erasure. It exploits it. And still you stay, still you give, still you crave. This is not compassion. This is not sacrifice. This is hunger. Ugly, raw, desperate. You've wrapped it in politeness. You've hidden it behind humility. You've masked it with duty, but it screams when you're alone. It howls in the dark corners of your soul. The need to be seen, to be enough, to be worthy. And so you perform, again and again, until there's nothing left of you. Let me tell you something brutal. You could die pleasing them, and they'd still find someone else to use, because people don't love you for what you give. They love you for what you withhold, for the mystery, for the strength, for the boundaries you think saying yes will make them stay. But it's saying no that earns respect. You're not here to be consumed. You're not here to be a meal for the starving. You are not a rescue dog. You are not an emotional vending machine. You are not here to bleed for applause. You are here to stand, to walk away, to demand. You're not weak. You've just been starving. For so long, you forgot what fullness feels like. But that ends now. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone the pieces of you they keep breaking. Let them be disappointed. Let them talk. Let them walk. You don't need them. Not anymore, because this isn't love. This is dependency. And today you break the chain. Asterisk. Shadow. The monster you buried alive. You were taught to kill it, taught to silence it, starve it, shame it. You were taught to fear the very thing that made you unbreakable, and you obeyed. You put a muzzle on your rage. You wrapped chains around your defiance. You buried your hunger in the backyard of your soul and walked away pretending. It never growled, but it never died. It waited. Because what they called anger was your boundary. What they named selfishness was your voice. What they labeled too much was just your power that made them uncomfortable. Carl Jung called it the shadow. But to you, it felt like a curse, a beast that stalked the corners. of your mind, a scream locked in your throat, a clenched fist behind every smile. You see, the shadow is not evil. It is everything you were not allowed to be. The part of you that still remembers how to fight. The part of you that doesn't care about approval. The part of you that is sick of being controlled, polished, corrected. They said your fire was dangerous, so you drowned it. And now you wonder why you feel hollow. Why your chest aches when you bite your tongue. Why you feel like a stranger in your own skin, because the shadow is still pacing, like a wolf behind bars. It watches as you pretend. Pretend to agree. Pretend to serve. Pretend to smile. Every time you say yes, when your soul screams no, the shadow claws. Every time you swallow truth to keep peace, the shadow roars. You were not born weak. You were trained to believe your strength was a sin. They told you to dim your fire, because they feared being burned. So you became cold, detached, hollow, controlled. But the rage is still there, not the kind that destroys, but the kind that liberates. The kind that says, I will not vanish for your comfort. Look closer. This is not madness. This is the part of you that remembers how to survive. You feared your shadow, but it was your spine. The very thing you needed to stand, to speak, to resist. You buried your beast. But monsters don't die in silence. They evolve. And now it's not a growl in the dark. It's a voice in your gut that won't shut up, telling you to stop kneeling, telling you to stop apologizing for breathing, telling you to rise. Yes, it's raw. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it terrifies the fragile peacekeepers who trained you to stay small. But it's yours, and it's time to open the cage. Time to meet the beast. Time to wear the parts of you they tried to kill like armor, because this isn't darkness. This is your backbone, and your shadow. It was never your enemy. It was your edge, your weapon, your fire. Let them whisper. Let them call you dangerous. Let them call you selfish. Let them call you too much, because when you stand in your shadow, you are untouchable. Unshakable. Unapologetic ally. You. So stop burying the beast. Feed it. Learn its name. Walk beside it. You've spent your life trying to be light for others, but now you become the storm they can't ignore. Guilt is not God. They told you guilt was holy, that it meant you had a conscience, a soul, a heart that hadn't turned to ash. They lied. Guilt is not a compass. It's a leash. You wear it like a collar, and they tug it every time you dare to move toward yourself. You think you're being noble when you stop yourself from saying no, from walking away, from choosing your own name, your own skin, your own voice. But what if I told you this guilt isn't yours? It's inherited, programmed, conditioned, a parasite that speaks in your mother's sighs, your father's silence, your teacher's disapproval, your God's punishment. Guilt is not your conscience. It's your captivity. You were trained to feel guilty for protecting yourself. You were rewarded for self-erasure, praised for putting others first, applauded for bleeding quietly. You learned to flinch before you felt, to apologize for existing, to smile while you broke. They called you good, but you were only obedient. Guilt became the jailer in your mind. Every time you dared to think of yourself, it whispered, selfish. Every time you tried to rest, it hissed, lazy. Every time you refused to please, it screamed, ungrateful. That wasn't your conscience. That was programming. A system designed to keep you small, quiet, soft. But let me ask you, what has guilt ever built for you? Has it ever made you whole? Has it ever freed you? Or has it only ever chained you to people who loved the version of you that kept shrinking? You have to understand, guilt is not always the signal of wrongdoing. Sometimes it's the residue of rebellion, the ache of choosing yourself for the first time. And yes, it hurts. But it's not a wound. It's a scar in the making. You've been taught that being good means being agreeable, available, nice, but good is just a mask they hand you. Wear it, and they'll clap. Remove it, and they'll crucify you. So you wear it until it chokes. Until one day, you realize the applause isn't worth the silence it demands. Because guilt doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're waking up to your anger, your boundaries, your instincts, and those things, they are not sins. They are your spine. So stop worshiping guilt like it's a god. It never loved you. It only used you. You don't owe guilt a single drop of your energy. Let it cry. Let it scream. Let it curse you as you walk away. But do not let it stop you. Because guilt is loud, but truth is louder. And the truth is this: you were never meant to be a servant to other people's comfort. You were never meant to set yourself on fire just to keep their world warm. You were not born to be pleasing. You were born to be powerful. And power does not ask for permission. It does not bow to guilt. So when it rises, when that old ache returns, when you feel your chest tighten at the thought of saying no, pause. Breathe. And remind yourself, this is not morality. This is manipulation. This is not integrity. This is indoctrination. And you are not a slave. Don't need to be forgiven for protecting your peace. You don't need to feel bad for choosing rest over performance. You don't need to apologize for refusing to be consumed. The people who truly see you will never ask you to betray yourself. And the ones who do, let them be disappointed. Let them be shocked. Let them grieve the version of you that let guilt win, because that version is gone, dead and buried. And in its place stands someone new, someone dangerous, someone who has stopped confusing guilt with goodness. Someone who has chosen truth over tolerance, freedom over familiarity, fire over forgiveness. You've spent your life softening yourself to fit inside the cages they call community, culture, religion. But softness was your sacrifice. Now, let pain be your forge. Let anger be your architect. Let clarity be your sword. Because guilt kept you soft. Now let pain make you sharp. The first no is a revolution. They taught you that saying no was betrayal, that denying others was a sin, that silence was golden, and obedience was holy. But here's the truth they never told you. Every time you say yes when your soul screams no, you are betraying yourself. You are slicing pieces off your spirit. You are digging a grave and calling it harmony. So let's be clear. Saying no isn't rude. It's resurrection. The first no will hurt because it shatters the illusion that you are loved for who you are, when in reality, you are tolerated for who you pretend to be. The first no is a funeral for the mask. It buries the obedient version of you that made everyone else comfortable. And yes, it will feel like death, because the false self you fed for years will scream for survival. But that scream is not your soul. That scream is the attic losing its fix. That scream is your old programming glitching under pressure. You are not dying. You are being born. The second no will haunt, not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. Because you'll hear the silence after you say it, and you'll mistake it for judgment. You'll see the shift in their eyes, and you'll call it rejection. You'll feel the weight of their discomfort and carry it like it's your crime. But that weight, it was never yours. That silence, it's not disapproval. It's their shock. Shock that you dared to break the script, that you walked off stage mid-performance, that you no longer play the role of their convenience. And in that silence, you will find your spine. The third no will set you free, because by now you've seen the pattern. You've watched how the world adjusts, how they pause, protest, pull back, and then they accept or they vanish. And both are blessings, because the ones who stay after your no, those are your people. The ones who leave, they were never with you. They were with your submission. Every no is a blade. It cuts ties with false identities. It severs expectations. You never agreed to dot it, carves out space where your truth can finally breathe. You've spent years building cages out of yeses. Now it's time to tear them down. One no at a time. You say no to the call at midnight. When your body is exhausted. You say no to the invitation that feels like an obligation. You say no to the guilt-drenched favor disguised as love. You say no to the meeting that drains your fire. To the relationship that feeds on your silence. To the job that praises your compliance and punishes your voice. No, I will not abandon myself. No, I will not betray my intuition. No, I will not bleed for people who wouldn't even offer a bandage. Each no is an act of rebellion. Each no is a declaration of sovereignty. Each no is a sacred line drawn in the sand. And yes, there will be fallout. People will call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll weaponize your boundaries. Because the moment you stop sacrificing yourself, you become a threat, not to them. To the system that trained them. To the structure that feeds off compliant souls. But you were not born to be consumed. You were born to command. You were not made to be agreeable. You were made to be alive. Let the world call your no harsh. Let them call it cold. Let them choke on their expectations. You do not owe them comfort. You owe yourself the truth. And the truth is this. Your no is not a wall. It is a gate. It is a filter for what deserves you. It is the storm before your sunrise. And if they fear your no, they were never strong enough for your yes. So say it, even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if the guilt claws at your chest. Say it, not just once. Say it until the noise fades. Say it until your spine remembers. Say it until the child inside you whispers, "Thank you. I thought we were forgotten." This is not rejection. This is resurrection, and the revolution begins with the first no. Boundaries. The new kingdom. You were not born to be consumed. You were not made to be invaded, divided, drained. Every inch of you was sacred ground. But they walked in like trespassers, and you let them, because you were taught to, conditioned to, programmed to believe that letting them take was how you proved you were good. Kind. Worthy. But that kindness cost you your kingdom. They set foot on your soul without permission, made camp in your silence. Drew from your well and left you empty. And you watched it happen, smiling, nodding, swallowing every scream. But now you remember what you are. You are the border. You are the gate. You are the law. Let them leave. Let them rage. Let them face the mirror of their entitlement. You are no longer a canvas for their projections. You are a fortress rebuilt. These boundaries you build, they are not walls. They are thrones, not to keep love out, but to keep yourself intact. Not to punish, but to protect. Not to isolate, but to honor. You are not a servant of every request. You are not a product to be consumed. You are a sovereign. You decide. You choose. And when they call you selfish, remember, the starving always curse those who stop feeding them. But you are not their banquet anymore. You have crowned yourself. No longer a martyr bleeding beneath a halo. No longer the altar of self-erasure. That crown of thorns, it ignited. It burns now, a fire on your head, a light to those who seek truth, a warning to those who seek control. Let them call you cruel. Let them call you changed. Let them call you anything, so long as they call you by your real name, free. Don't explain your boundaries. You embody them. In how you walk. In how you speak. In what you do. And do not allow. You do not need to raise your voice. Your energy is your sword. Your silence is your gate. Your no is a throne no one can overthrow. And those who truly see you will not ask you to lower your standards. They will rise. They will meet you, or they will vanish. And both are answers. You are no longer begging for space. You are claiming it. This body is yours. This time is yours. This soul yours. Let them rage. Let them run. Let them rot in the echo chamber of their own manipulation. You don't owe them comfort. You owe yourself peace. This is your kingdom, and your limits. They are your law now. You were never meant to be liked. You were never meant to be liked. You were meant to be real, but they lied to you. They sold you harmony. They sold you smiles and praise and pats on the back. They told you being good was the goal, that pleasing the crowd meant peace, but peace was never the goal. Control was, and you were the sacrifice. Every time you nodded, when your heart screamed otherwise, every time you stayed silent to keep the peace, every time you bled for their comfort, you weren't being kind. You were being erased. You think they loved you? No, they loved the version of you that served them, the edited you, the polished, the tame, but the real you, the untamed, the unapologetic, the voice that trembled not with fear, but with fury. They feared that you, and so they taught you to fear it too. Be gentle, be quiet, be nice, be liked, but being liked is a leash. It's a chain wrapped in compliments. It jingles sweetly as you walk, but it tightens every time you try to run. The world will not hand you freedom. It will hand you rules, roles, masks, and call it virtue. But virtue without truth is a cage, and I refuse to live caged. Let them call me rude. Let them call me cold. Let them whisper about the one who walked away. Let them misunderstand me. Let them reject me. Let them hate. I am not here to be liked. I am here to be real. And the price of being real is loneliness. Oh, you will be alone. They won't understand why you stopped showing up, why you started saying no, why the yes machine broke down and left only silence in its place. They will call it a phase. They will call it selfish. They will say, "You've changed." Good. I was dying in who I was. The peacekeeper is dead. I buried them beneath the weight of every fake smile, every swallowed truth, every moment I betrayed myself so someone else could sleep peacefully. That death was necessary, because now I rise not to please, not to soothe, not to keep the world calm. I rise to rule. Sovereign, whole, unedited. That you do not have to be understood to be powerful. You do not have to be accepted to be worthy. You do not have to be liked to lead. You only have to be real, and real is terrifying, because the real you will burn bridges. The real you will set boundaries that feel like betrayal to those who fed on your silence. The real you will walk alone into the fire and come out crowned in ash, but the ash means you survived. Let them whisper. Let them glare. Let them brand you villain. Let them write you out of their stories. Let them fear what they cannot control. Let them hate. Let them fear. Let them fall. You were never meant to be liked. You were meant to be free. Silence is the final sword. You want to know what real power looks like? It looks like silence, the kind that walks into a room and makes everyone sit straighter, the kind that doesn't ask questions, doesn't beg for attention, doesn't chase applause. You don't speak to be seen. You don't explain to be understood. You exist, and that is enough. Because silence is the final sword, not a whisper of weakness, but a blade sharpened in solitude. They ask, "Why aren't you saying anything?" Because they don't know what you're thinking. And that terrifies. Then you see, words give away your position, your fear, your hunger, your insecurity. But when you say nothing, they hear everything. Silence is not absence. It is presence, louder than chaos, sharper than doubt. Stillness is a storm withheld, a closed fist under velvet skin. You used to think silence was passive. Now you know it's predatory. You used to fill silence with noise to be liked, to be understood, to be safe. But you were never safe. You were just exposed. And now? Now you sit at the center of yourself. You speak only when it serves you. You do not react. You do not flinch. You do not bleed on command. They poke. They prod. They perform. And you remain. That's when they lose control. Because your silence does what noise never could. It mirrors them. It confronts them. It forces them to face their own emptiness. You've become the unknown. And no one fears what they understand. They fear what they can't predict. Silence is not submission. It is sovereignty. You are not here to make noise. You are here to become uncheckable. They want reactions. Give them nothing. They want confusion. Give them certainty. They want your energy. Guard it with silence, because every moment you don't react, you grow more dangerous. And every time you pause, you steal their momentum. Let them unravel in your stillness. Let them panic in your calm. The loudest one in the room is the weakest. The one who cannot sit in silence is the one who has no control. You've learned to starve the world of your chaos. To feed it only when you choose. To speak only when the sword must swing. Until then, you are the unsheathed blade. You are the still storm. You are the closed fist. You are the end of noise. You don't need to be heard. You need to be felt. The shadow crown final ascension. They said strength was submission. They said light was salvation. They told you to avoid your darkness like a curse. They were wrong. You were not meant to be half. Not meant to walk only in the light while your shadow howled beneath you. You were not born to be safe. You were born to become. You faced the dark, not just around you, but within you. The buried rage, the unwanted hunger, the fury they called too much, the desire they told you to silence, the parts of yourself you disowned to be loved. You went back for them, one by one. You opened the vault and faced the monster. And then you realized it was never the monster. It was you, the real you. The unashamed, the unfiltered, the unbroken. Individuation. That's what Jung called it. But it is more than theory. It is sacred rebellion. It is war against the false self you were told to wear like armor. And it is peace earned, not gifted. You faced the shadow. You became it. And you emerged whole, not clean, not polite, not pretty, but whole. Now look around. The world still kneels to praise, still bows to approval, still amputates itself for acceptance. But not you. You wear your truth like a crown. Not gold, not gemmed, not given, forged in darkness, in grief, in silence, in the heat of rejection, in the solitude of defiance. A crown forged in fire, not to impress, to declare. And you sit not on a throne made of admiration, but on one carved from your own shadow. Your silence, your depth, your scars. Not a happy ending. A powerful beginning. They want happy, they want healed, but they do not want whole, because whole means wild. Whole means hard to control. You chose wholeness over peace, self over safety, fire over falsehood. They will say you changed. They will call you cruel. They will call you distant. They will call you selfish. Let them call you whatever makes them feel safer. You were never theirs to name. They tried to break you with guilt. They tried to buy you with praise. But you refused to kneel. You are not here to please. You are here to reign. One small message can change a heavy day. Comment below. Life is beautiful. Like, subscribe, and let someone else feel it too.